Hey everybody, it's Nathan Freeberg from Minneapolis Running, and I am here with Antonio Vega, former elite runner with Mizuno and Team USA Minnesota. He's the author of our brand new, hot off the press marathon training plan. Antonio, how you doing?
Doing all right.
Awesome, awesome. Antonio is also my coach, so I asked him to create this plan for us, but also just to kind of share a few kind of high-level overview, high-level thoughts on the plan, give us a little bit of an overview. So a couple questions for you, Antonio. The first one, just what is this plan? Kind of big picture, what's involved in it? What can we expect to see?
So the concept behind the plan is basically getting you to the starting line of the marathon, just feeling very confident that you've done enough training, ready to run your race. Bigger picture, it's really meant to kind of introduce you to some of the different nuances of training, speed workout, long runs, tempo runs, all those kind of things. It's really kind of meant to get you used to those kind of things, because ultimately any successful race that you have is going to have some form of those elements within your training plan.
Sure, sure. So is this plan geared towards like the super, speedsters that are qualifying for Boston, or the I just want to finish people, or who kind of would benefit from this plan?
So what I really try to incorporate with this plan is really make it usable for any ability level. It's hard when you look at these training plans and you're right, okay, what's my audience? Who am I going to be writing this for?
Right.
You really got to kind of set for both aspects. You're going to have both the beginner runner and both, the person who's had more specific goals in mind. Their Boston qualifier, sub 3 hours, sub 4 hours, whatever that may be. If you're a beginner runner and this is your first time following a plan, doing a marathon, it's going to be a plan that's a little bit more challenging than what's out there currently. And that's intentional. It's intentional because this is really what you need to be confident going into the marathon, going into the starting line, knowing you've done enough training. So I always tell people the hardest part of any marathon is actually the training. Doing the marathon's the easy part. And
that's kind of true.
It's very true. So, that is the beginner in mind. The advanced person who has some more specific goals in mind, it's really meant to challenge you as well, because you are kind of getting into a little bit more challenging speed workouts, some challenging long runs, kind of all those things that go in with having a great race as well.
So getting a little more specific, what kind of stuff can we expect to see in there? Is it 1 to 2 days a week of running, followed by a whole lot of cross training, or what's sort of maybe describe sort of a typical week? I know that they're all different, but
right. So with the training plan, at a minimum, we need you running 4 days a week. And so I believe we start out with that, with 4 days a week of running, and then we slowly build on this. And I think that's the important part, is how this plan builds on itself as you go from week to week.
And it tops out at 6 days, I think?
Yes.
Or is there maybe a few 7 days in there, or just 6?
I believe 6 days. I think there's always 6. 1 day
right.
that you have off, kind of thing. So, we build you up. So if you're, a very beginner runner, starting out at 4 days, going off the time, and we'll talk about that more obviously a little bit, really should be able to keep you healthy as you go through it. But with that, you're always going to have a long run. You're always going to have a speed workout. Depending on the week, some weeks we'll go with a tempo run. Some weeks we go without a tempo run. It really depends where you're at in your phase of training.
So what's a tempo run?
So a tempo run is going to be something very similar to how you're going to feel in the marathon. Okay. So you kind of think when you run a marathon, it's going to be those later stages where you're running at a pace that's difficult, but it's still comfortable. So somewhere in kind of that middle area. So this plan really kind of works on getting you into that area, making sure you know how it feels, be able to sustain that kind of stuff.
Kind of running on tired legs, that idea of accumulated fatigue and getting up there. And
absolutely.
One of the things that I appreciate about all of your plans, but this one, is that for even the person who just wants to finish, this actually will help you, I believe, finish and not feel like death, and not feel like you're just completely dead and completely spent and having to walk the last 10 miles or something ridiculous. It's really, if you do it right and follow it, it's really kind of builds you up to that. There's actually 2 plans. There's one that's based on time and one that's based on distance. Already gotten a lot of questions about this. What are some of the reasons behind giving someone a plan based on time, which means you just say go out and run for 2 hours versus go out and run for 15 miles or whatever it is? What are some of the, kind of reasons behind that?
Yeah, so like I said, when you write a plan like this, you have to look at where your audience is. And so knowing that you're going to have someone who maybe he's running 11-minute pace per mile, which is fantastic, or someone who's running 7-minute per mile, you really have two different ends of the spectrum there.
Right.
So the time-based plan is really kind of geared towards that person who's not quite sure where they're at in the marathon, not sure what type of paces they're using.
Okay.
And it's really designed to make sure we're getting the desired effect out of each workout.
Gotcha.
So what someone could run a mile in, like say yourself, Nathan, what you could run a mile in might be significantly different than what I could run a mile in.
Oh yeah, I'm way faster.
Yeah, exactly. So it makes sure that we're both doing the same kind of workout by doing the time, right?
Gotcha.
So the
Right.
effect's the same, whatever 4 minutes is for me, it's going to be 4 minutes for you kind of thing. So we're making sure we're staying right in the correct training zones.
Gotcha.
The distance is meant more towards the person who, I'm very familiar in my training. I've done tempo, I've done speed workouts.
Right.
I know how far 200 meters is. So,
Gotcha. And because part of the danger is for those folks who are, running 11-minute pace or, whatever it is, if they go out and do, some of the much longer training distances, they can potentially hurt themselves, right? Because they're just not used to doing that type of volume. So,
yep.
So Antonio, thank you for that. That was very helpful.
Yeah.
If people want to get kind of more information from you about maybe coaching or some other stuff, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Yeah, I mean, you can either, fill out a comment on Minneapolis Running, or you can get
There's a box right below us.
Yeah. Or you can get a contact with me directly at antonio@getzoomperformance.com.
Awesome. And you offer a whole variety of coaching plans and
Right.
price points and all kinds of stuff.
And I always tell people too, if you just have questions, like big picture questions, my first love is running and coaching and helping people really kind of realize their full potential. I'm always welcome to, if you want to bounce some ideas off me, is like, where did I going wrong with this training plan, or what am I going wrong with my past? That's something that we can kind of talk about too as well. So
cool. Well, Antonio, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. And to everyone else watching this, I hope you download this plan, and may all of your marathon dreams come true. Talk to you later.